What is going on, you guys? Rick Ucchino here once again for the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel, and I am fired up. It is officially WWE Draft Week. As the chairman would say, it's time to shake things up a bit. Only a couple of days out now, and what would Draft Week be without morons like myself putting out surefire, no way in hell are these going to be accurate mocks? And that is exactly what I have put together for you here today. We're going to do 4 rounds, the top 20 picks. Here's how I think things should shake out in the 2021 WWE Draft.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
Alright guys, before I get started, a couple of quick notes, because we don't actually know the rules yet for the WWE Draft as of this recording, which is about 7 o'clock Tuesday night Eastern Standard Time. So what I have done is structured this as simply as I can, using roughly the same model that we have seen in years past. 5 picks per round, and Monday Night Raw, since they have 3 hours to fill, they get the advantage in round number 1. They will get the first overall pick, and they will get 3 picks in that round, and then we're going to flip things around for round 2. SmackDown will get the number 1 overall pick and get 3 picks in that round. Round 3 will look like round 1, and round 4 will look like round 2. Everybody on the speed? Sure, I hope so. Here's the other caveat, by the way. The way I'm picking this draft isn't necessarily what I think is going to happen, but the number 1 rule in pro wrestling is believability. So I'm going to go for believability in this mock draft and how things should shake out, and not necessarily how they will shake out. And you'll understand what I mean when I go through the number 1 overall pick. So as the commissioner would say, or as Stephanie McMahon would say, with the number 1 overall pick in the 2021 WWE Draft, Monday Night Raw selects the Bloodline. No disrespect to literally anybody else in that locker room. Big E, New Day, anybody. This is a clear-cut number 1 overall draft pick. It starts with the man himself, the reigning Universal Champion, Roman Reigns. He is the top guy, the top act, the top draw in all of professional wrestling. If Monday Night Raw wants to up the ratings, there is no doubt they have to take the Universal Champion. And by the way, since factions and tag teams can be picked together, it only makes sense if you could go ahead and bring in surefire Hall of Famers like the Usos, who also happen to be the SmackDown Tag Team Champions. There's a lot that you get to pull over here. In one fell swoop, you get Roman Reigns, the Usos, the Universal Championship, the SmackDown Tag Team titles, and oh yeah, Paul Heyman, one of the best talkers in the business. This is a slam dunk number 1 pick for Monday Night Raw, and it truly shakes things up. So, SmackDown now has to make that reactionary selection, which means with the 2nd overall pick, they are going to take 3 surefire Hall of Famers themselves, the New Day. That includes Big E and the WWE Championship. They will not go without having a world champion on their brand. So SmackDown, this is the only selection that they can make, and they just lost their top tag team. So now they bring in an 11-time tag team champions themselves in Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, and yes, Big E as well. But Big E is the big fish here with that WWE Championship. So, moving on to pick number 3, Monday Night Raw. They made the big steal with their first pick. Now they're going to protect their own, and they are going to hang on to the Raw Women's Champion in Charlotte Flair. This is a no doubt, honestly, a kind of a coin flip here with the Raw Women's Championship and the SmackDown Women's Championship. They're both major stars, major draws. Monday Night Raw is going to do the same thing here. They're going to keep their own champion on their brand, so we don't have to do another one of those awkward title exchanges like we saw with the tag team titles in last year's draft. So Charlotte stays on Raw. Pick number 4 overall, the 2nd pick for SmackDown, and Fox is going to keep their major draw in the SmackDown Women's Champion, the man, Becky Lynch. Again, you have to keep both of your world champions on your brand. You're pulling in Big E with your first selection overall. Now you're keeping the man, Becky Lynch, one of your top draws in the company. That is a win for Friday Night SmackDown. And if I'm Monday Night Raw, I'm looking at all that depth. I'm looking at that problem that SmackDown has, getting all those really talented women on the show. every Friday. You only got 2 hours. So I'm sitting here going, you know what? Let us help you out. Let us, the USA Network, help you out and alleviate you of some of that depth. And we are going to take 5th overall, arguably the breakout superstar of 2020 and 2021, and arguably the most impressive superstar in all of WWE. That is right, we are taking the EST, Bianca Belair, moving back over from Friday Night SmackDown to Monday Night Raw, and boy oh boy, that sets up a lot of interesting matchups, particularly between the Queen and the EST. So, how does Friday Night SmackDown counteract that? Well, we move on to round number 2, where they have the first overall selection. You want to talk about breakout stars? How about Mr. Damian Priest and that shiny, gorgeous United States Championship? Come on over to Friday Night SmackDown. You are the 6th overall selection. So now it is Raw that has to be reactionary, and they are going to take the Intercontinental Champion away from Friday Night SmackDown, Mr. Shinsuke Nakamura, and Rick Boogs. Why not? Keep them together. Pat McAfee is crying at the announcer's desk that he is not going to get to keep dancing and jiving and jumping up on the table to that entrance every week. Shinsuke Nakamura and the Intercontinental Championship are going 7th overall to Monday Night Raw. Moving on to the 8th overall selection. This one belongs to SmackDown, and you know what? If I'm the Fox Network, I'm looking at all that depth that we have in our women's division, and I'm going, we need to protect that. We just lost Bianca Belair. There is no way that we can take one more pick and risk losing the boss, Sasha Banks. So she is the 8th overall selection, staying on Friday Night SmackDown, reigniting that rivalry with Becky Lynch. That is a money situation, and Fox is very, very happy. We move over now to the 9th overall selection, and Monday Night Raw, oh yeah, they're gonna keep, interestingly enough, the Raw Tag Team Champions, RK Bro. We're getting Randy Orton, we're keeping Matt Riddle on Monday night, as well as those red tag team belts. And yeah, I know what I just did there. I just drafted the SmackDown and Raw Tag Team Champions over to Raw. You wanna know why I did that? Selfishly, it's because I hope they would go, well, we got 2 champions on one brand, let's combine those titles because we have way too many of them, and we can just keep the tag team champs as a floating champion, much like the women have been set up for. That's just a pipe dream there, but that's how I think things would shake down. If that's not how they decide to go with it, that's fine. Still, Monday Night Raw keeping Randy Orton and Riddle is the right thing to do there with the 9th overall selection. That brings us to the final pick of round number 2. Again, talking about breakout stars, especially during the pandemic, Friday Night SmackDown, they just can't say no to the Scottish psychopath. Drew McIntyre is moving from Monday Night Raw over to Friday Night SmackDown, where he can continue to chase Big E and that WWE Championship. So now we move on to round number 3. Monday Night Raw, they're back in the driver's seat. They have the first overall selection in round number 3, and they are taking the Beast Incarnate, Brock Lesnar. Now, I know what you're sitting there saying. How in the blue hell does Brock Lesnar fall all the way to the first pick in round 3? Again, this comes down to believability. Brock Lesnar, he's good for maybe 10 appearances a year. You're going to get a massive draw for those 10 appearances, and that in itself has value, but not enough to pass up any of the full-time acts that I have already listed in this draft. So, Raw, they're going to keep the potential here. They're going to wait until round 3. The potential being Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, continuing that feud. They're going to keep those two together. Brock Lesnar coming over to Monday Night Raw, first overall in round 3. And so now SmackDown has to react with the 12th overall selection, and they are going to take a semi-part-timer. This guy works a more full-time schedule than he does a part-time schedule these days. Already a WWE Hall of Famer, they are going to hang on to the rated R superstar, Edge. Raw, pick number 13, they are going to take Mini Edge. Edge Light. They are going to take the Architect. They are going to take the Savior. They are going to bring back the Monday Night Messiah. They are selecting Seth Rollins, 13th overall. I think this makes a ton of sense. These two can have their third match. 3 is enough between these two. Let's split them up after that. Moving Seth Rollins over to Monday Night Raw adds a little bit more star power as well. Again, I don't think this would actually happen. I definitely don't think this would actually happen. They're not going to split up Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins on separate brands. But if I'm USA, I don't give a damn about that. Not one iota. Moving on to the 14th overall selection, he just made his re-debut this week in Cincinnati, the home of the UC Bearcats. Perfect place for it. This guy's a monster. This guy's a mega superstar. SmackDown, the Fox executives, they see it. They see a future world champion, Keith Bearcat Lee. He's heading over to Friday nights. Give me that Big E and Keith Lee, Big Lee, shall we call it? Give me that rivalry and give it to me now. And with the final selection in round 3, 5th overall, Monday Night Raw, they're gonna hang on to Bobby Lashley, and they're not gonna let the rest of the Hurt Business get away either. They're gonna take Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander. They're going to keep all of them on Raw. There is no way they're finally gonna give the fans what they want by giving us the Hurt Business and then split them up in the draft. At least they better not do that. I don't think they would do that. So in my draft, they're all staying there. MVP as well, all happy and helping to carry Monday Night Raw. And real quickly, because here's where things get a little bit more interesting, here is round 4. Again, SmackDown with the first overall selection here, and they're going to add to their women's ranks. They're going to take the team of Super Brutality, Rhea Ripley and Nikki A.S.H. Now, they would have been taken earlier in the draft, if I'm honest, but seeing as they are the women's tag team champions and they can float between brands anyway while they have those titles, it made it easier for SmackDown and Fox to risk losing them, so that's why they kind of fall a little bit in this draft. But still, once you get to round 4, you just can't pass them up anymore. That is just too much talent. And now, the SmackDown Women's Division is continuing to shake out very, very nicely. Now that pick, that may cost them here because Monday Night Raw, once again, they're going to be keeping 2 of their own. They're going to keep the tag team, the former tag team champions of AJ Styles and Omos. Hard to believe that AJ Styles falls all the way to round number 4, but let's be honest, until this past Monday, he hasn't really been doing a whole lot. That match with Matt Riddle in Cincinnati, yeah, that kind of reminded us just who AJ Styles is. And Monday Night Raw is going to be very, very happy to hang on to him. With the 3rd overall selection in round number 4, here's where it gets interesting. Coming up from NXT, I know all the reports say Hit Row has the possibility of coming up. I actually like Legado del Fantasma to come up and move over to Friday Night SmackDown. I think Santos Escobar is a future main event star. You can bring in his entire crew there and just have a major faction that could potentially feud with the New Day on Friday Night SmackDown. I like that a whole lot. I do think Hit Row is more suited for Raw, and I do think they do come up, but it's not going to happen until the later rounds because Monday Night Raw, they are going to go with potential with the 4th overall selection in round 4, but it's not going to be Hit Row here. It's going to be somebody that they already know is massively over and overdue for a huge push on the main roster. The steal of the draft, in my opinion, even taking her in round 4, Liv Morgan. Absolutely slam dunk selection here. Liv Morgan is over as hell right now with the fan base. Her in-ring work is immaculate. She is just begging for an opportunity. Moving over to Raw makes a ton of sense for her because she's going to get more time to shine. I guarantee you she'll be on TV every week on Monday nights. This is a great move for USA. This is a great move for Liv Morgan, and she'll be the Raw Women's Champion sooner rather than later. And last but not least, still a bevy of talent out there. I think Friday Night SmackDown, that there's really no wrong answer here, but seeing how massively over, again, that's the big thing here. Let's pile up some baby faces. Seeing how he performed at Extreme Rules, I think Finn Balor and yes, the Demon make a ton of sense here. 5th overall in the 4th round, the 20th overall pick in my WWE Mock Draft. And when you look at the bevy of talent that's still left, we're talking about Kevin Owens. We're talking about Sami Zayn. We're talking about Bayley, who would have been taken in the top 20 if she's not injured. Boys, ladies and gentlemen, this is just stacked on stacks on stacks on stacks. There's a lot of talent here, but that is how I believe things should shake out if they're going for believability here. Do I absolutely think they're going to do that? Hell to the no, I don't, because there's no way Fox, in the first place, is letting the bloodline get away. So none of this draft is going to be accurate, but if they're going for believability, if Raw is going to have the number 1 overall pick, this is how I think things should shake out. Make sure to stick with the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel this weekend as we got all your draft coverage covered for you starting 8 o'clock Friday night. Live draft show here on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Watch along with us. Put Fox on one device, put us on the other. We're going to have giveaways. We're going to have trivia. We're going to have live analysis. It's going to be a good time. Please join us here. Click that subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen, and continue to enjoy wrestling here for Sportskeeda Wrestling.